All right, all right, all right, everyone. Happy NFL Draft Eve. The end of our long national nightmare is nearly over. I'm talking the end of the mock draft season. Thank goodness, hallelujah. Sing a praise of hallelujah because the NFL Draft is nearly upon us tomorrow night in New York at Radio City Music Hall. Welcome to the First and 60 show. I am joined by my co-host, the one, the only pro football guru, Russ Baxter. Hey, Russ.
Hello there, Sunday. Now, let's tell people here, this is a different night for us. It's usually Thursday. It's Wednesday. And instead of First and 60 tonight, we're going to do First and 30. So we are cutting back and cutting our show in half. And speaking of better halves, I throw it right back to Sunny.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even introduce myself, huh? I am Sunny Cadwallader, better known as Cad Chica on Twitter, on Instagram, and at Cad Chica Sports. Russ, why don't you? We've got a couple of guests with us tonight. Woohoo! Let me bring in some. There we go. We've got a couple of guests with us, NFL experts. Russ, why don't you bring them on?
Well, thank you very much, Sunny. And we'll start with. I say this all the time. Everybody's got a draft Nick, but I've got the only draft Nick, as in N-I-C-K, as in Nick Paulenich, founder of the Sports Savant. Nick, welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks for having me again. It's been a lot of fun.
And now I've got another introduction, even though it's the first time she's making an appearance on First and 60. Me and this young lady have done a lot of radio over the last year or so. She is the host of Sports Infusion. She does a sensational job. She is the sporty diva. Her name is Pamela Michelle, and welcome to First and 60/30 for the first time, Pam.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So as Sunny is going to get us started here, keep in mind here, we are 24 hours away from the NFL Draft, and we're going to try to cram 60 minutes of information into a 30-minute show. And Sunny, as they will say numerous times tomorrow, you are on the clock.
Good thing I'm not a talker. So, Nick, I'm going to start with you before we actually get into our NFL talk. Nick, why don't you introduce yourself, give everybody a little bit more background, and what you've been working on lately.
Well, my background is I've worked in both the media and in public relations in a lot of different capacities throughout my career in sports. Currently, I run the Sports Savant, and what I've been doing the last probably 6 weeks has been working on Russell's site, Pro Football Guru, and been profiling all the different positions. I think we had 14 different pieces, and then just finished up with a piece this week, the 5 most intriguing teams to watch for in this week's draft.
That's going to come in handy for our first question, but we're not going to get to that one yet. Pam, I'm excited to meet you because we finally have another woman on the show. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about you?
Well, I am the host of a show called Sports Fusion, and that is Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. And, of course, Russell is our football guru on the show, and I have also had the pleasure of having Nick on, so I'm really excited to be on the show with Nick too, because he participated in our mock draft too, so I'm really excited about having, the opportunity to, get to talk to Nick again, as well as meeting you and spending some more time with Russell, because I always love spending time with Russell. Who doesn't, right?
Yeah, who doesn't?
Well, I could give you that list, but I'll skip it for now.
I'm sure a short list.
Well, I would think so because I'm short.
List.
My name may or may not be on that list, but don't tell anybody.
Sonny, you are on numerous lists. So.
I'm a list queen. What can I say? Let's get right into our first question. There's a lot of teams with a lot of draft picks tomorrow night. I want to know who is the most intriguing team to you for tomorrow night's draft. Let's start with Nick.
Well, when I wrote, as I mentioned earlier, when I wrote the piece, the hardest part about writing the piece was actually narrowing it down to 5 teams. And just for me, the team that I think is the most intriguing is the Cleveland Browns. They have 5 picks in the first 83 picks. They have 2 first-rounders, And we all know that they've had a lot of quarterback issues since they've come back in the league. They've had 20 different starting quarterbacks. So for me, that's been their long-standing problem. Are they going to use it with their fourth pick, or are they going to come back and use it on their second pick? I mean, they've already drafted 3 quarterbacks since coming back in the first round. No luck there. But there's a lot of depth at a lot of the positions that they need, cornerback and wide receiver. So I'm just really kind of curious. This is a great opportunity for the organization to move forward.
Pamela, what team is most intriguing to you?
Actually, I was going to go the Cleveland Browns as well, just because of their 2 picks in the first round. Because when we did our mock draft, I was really, I think I can't remember if it was you or Adam who picked Sammy Watkins as 4 and Derek Carr, as 26. And for Cleveland to get their quarterback, I'm really wondering how they're going to set up their core of receivers and to see if they can actually fill the hole, because that's something that they haven't really been able to do. They thought that they had something when they inserted Hoyer into the lineup and then he got injured. It just seems that they've had bad luck at quarterback. So it's going to be interesting for me to see if they're going to go with somebody who they consider is going to be their franchise or somebody that they're going to try to groom.
Russ?
Well, I think it's got to be the St. Louis Rams, and I know that sounds obvious because they also have 2 first-round picks, but I'm more judging this on what they have done in the first round the last couple of years. Obviously, we all know that one of the reasons they have an extra second-round pick is they continue to, get reaping rewards from the gift that keeps on giving, and that was the trade with the Washington Redskins back in 2012 when they gave up the second pick and got the Redskins' 6th pick, and bunch of other first-round picks and the second-round pick. But the intrigue to me of the Rams is what they have done in these first rounds as being movers and shakers. People forget, all right, they swung the deal with the Redskins. But after getting the 6th pick, they swung another deal with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys came up and took Morris Claiborne, the cornerback, and the Rams moved their way down and got Michael Brockers to bolster their defensive line. Now let's go to last year's draft. Once again, move way up in the draft, blockbuster trade to a degree with the Buffalo Bills, gave up a lot of picks to get up to number 8 to take Tavon Austin. But lo and behold, by the end of the first round, they were back again and took Alec Ogletree, the linebacker who wound up leading the team in tackles this year. So here come the Rams, not only with picks number 2 and 13, but with a dozen picks overall, which is tied with the Jets for the most. And if Jeff Fisher and Les Snead do what they do the last 2 years on day one, they should make things very, very exciting for the rest of the league.
Let's move on to perhaps not necessarily an intriguing team, but is there a sleeper team, one that we should probably keep our eye on? They may not necessarily have the most draft picks, but you're not with, was it seven teams with new coaches in the league this year? Is there a sleeper team that you're going to be focusing on, Pam, maybe that others might not be watching?
I'm not saying that there's a sleeper team. I'm actually interested to see what the New England Patriots are going to do, because they always seem to trade out of the first round and trade down for more draft picks for themselves. So it's going to be interesting for me to see if they actually make a first-round draft pick this year or if they're going to trade that spot to try to get a few more picks.
Nick?
I would go with the San Francisco 49ers just because they have a lot of picks, but they're doing a little retooling on the defense. They have some questions with age, and they need to fix those 2 cornerback positions. So I think they have some work to do, and they need a receiver opposite of Crabtree because Bolden's not getting any younger. So I think that they have a lot of picks, but I think at the same time they need to they have a little retooling, and that's a tough division where you could find yourself in 3rd or 4th place sooner than later. So.
Russ, what about you? Is there a sleeper team? Just don't say my Raiders. Don't say my Raiders, please.
Okay, I won't say your Raiders. But, I will say this about the Raiders, though. I think they either take an offensive lineman at number 5 or trade down. I think Reggie McKenzie has 7 picks in this draft. I think he wants to come out of here with at least 9 players. Remember, last year they came out with 10 players in the draft. I think, to me, a sleeper team, how can you call the Green Bay Packers a sleeper team?
Ooh.
But no one seems to be talking about them very much.
Good call.
Because of what Seattle and San Francisco, San Francisco has its 11 picks. Seattle has only 6 picks. But there's a lot, and the NFC West has really kind of stolen the spotlight from everybody else. But, the Packers are a team that relies on the draft as much as any franchise in the league. They have 9 picks going into this draft. I know a couple are compensatory, but I won't be surprised if they do some moving and shaking. They have to do something about that defense. They managed to win a division title last year with a strong running game and 4 different starting quarterbacks. Despite a defense, I don't think people realize that the Packers actually gave up more points than they scored last year. They scored 417. They gave up 428. Over the course of the last 3 years since they won the Super Bowl, either pass defense or run defense or both has been an issue for Dom Capers. Some of that is due to injuries. Some is also due to the fact that some of these young players they drafted a couple years ago haven't stepped up or been able to stay healthy, or both. I think the Packers need to come out of here, maybe with a wide receiver in the 2nd and 3rd round, but once again, like they did 2 years ago, focus their draft on defense. The Packers are fascinating because if you look at the last 4 years for them, they won the Super Bowl as a wild card at 10-6. They went 15-1 and won a division title. A year after, they lost 4 more games and went 11-5 and still won a division title. And then the year after that, they lost 3 more games and went 8-7-1 and still won a division title. So this year, I'm thinking the Packers will probably go, 6-8-2 and still win the NFC North.
Will one of those twos be that first game against Seattle against the Seahawks?
Oh boy! A tie? Oh, that's what that series really needs, is a tie. After the last time Green Bay went to Seattle, could you imagine that? I mean, what's the over under on how many times we're going to see NBC replay the Golden Tate play?
And he's in Detroit, so he can't even.
Yes, he is, but that won't stop the replay.
No.
Now,
I'm sure Vegas has odds.
Probably. Now, did you guys call that a Fail Mary or intercept touchdown?
I think the technical term was debacle.
Bring back the real refs.
Well, and eventually that's what it turned out to. Nick, I got a question for you. Tomorrow night, we have talked about on this show and other shows the top heaviness of the draft. Houston and Jacksonville with 11 picks, the Rams with 12, Atlanta and Cleveland with 10. That's 5 of the top 6 teams have at least 10 picks. Do you think that means more trades, less trades, or are we just going to be the status quo in terms of trades in the first round?
I think it means more trades, because I think that, for a team like Cleveland, they may want to use a couple. There's been talk that they want to go and try getting a 3rd first-round draft pick, and so I think with that kind of ammunition and with the draft being as deep as it is, I mean, my strategy would be to try to get as many picks as possible, because I just think there's a lot of depth in this, and I think you can walk away, especially with a team like Cleveland, Jacksonville, who's trying to rebuild or is not that far away. This is a great draft to do that. So if you can trade down and maybe pick up a couple of picks, 2 or 3 picks, or however, I think there's going to be a lot of people trying to do that. And I think for others, it'll be an opportunity to move up if they're just a team needs just that one player. Maybe they feel that will put them over the top. So I think that my thought would be there'd be some movement.
Pam, I'm gonna fire a different question at you, and it has to do with the NFC East, which in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago was always in the Super Bowl discussion. I know the Giants won a couple of years ago. I think it's 4 years in a row now that it's taken 10 wins or less to win the division. Not a lot of playoff success except for the Giants winning the Super Bowl, and yet the Giants have missed the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years. So.
Boy, just rub it in on her there.
I know, right?
I'm covering all bases because I think, you look at Dallas, they have 11 picks, but 6 of them come in the 7th round. Mm-hmm. Washington has 6 picks. Philly has 6 picks. I think the Giants have 7. So there's the division as a whole doesn't have a ton of draft choices. Dallas didn't do much in free agency. Washington did. Philly did to a degree. The Giants certainly did. What are your feelings on the NFC East approaching this draft, Pam? And I'd be curious. I know Philly won it last year, and it ended a streak where every team won it over a 4-year span. I don't want to say this is an important draft for the NFC East because it's an important draft for 32 teams.
Right.
But I almost want to say there's almost kind of like a change in philosophy in the NFC East, especially with a team like the Giants, who have gone so free agency heavy the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually very surprised. I mean, Reese had gone free agency heavy, and he did it again this year too, but he's filling the holes of where he needs to go and try to rebuild this team. I mean, and other people who aren't Giants fans do see the holes in this team. A lot of Giants fans seem to have the rose-colored glasses on still, thinking that, you know, that there's going to be some type of magic that happens every season, that Eli's going to pull out some of that Eli magic. And with the ankle surgery that he's had and with the picks that they have, I think that they have to shore up a little bit of that O-line, but they also do need to address the defense. I wouldn't be surprised, even though they got Rashad Jennings, if they went after maybe a running back too, to kind of strengthen up some of that run game. And I just think that with the NFC East, it's the NFC least right now because it has turned from such a strong division to a weak division where last year when the Giants started 0-6, they still had a chance of making the playoffs, and that is
Very
just
true.
so crazy. You know, I mean, what team starts 0-6 and basically half of your season's over and you're still not out of it yet? I mean, that just, you know, to me, lowered the class of what that division was, that it was such a strong division before, and now it just seems like you can even, you know, win that division with less than double-digit wins, and that's kind of crazy to me. I think that what Chip Kelly is doing in Philadelphia is, you know, rebuilding the team the way he wants it, and I think that the Eagles are definitely a team that you have to watch, and I think when you look at all the cleaning house that the Redskins did, hopefully that, you know, clears up some of the issues, because some of it seemed to be internal where it was a lot of, you know, conflict between RG3 and the coach, and you don't know how the players are going to react to that when it seems that there's a lot of drama in the locker room as well. So I think that with each team, with the problems that they're having, hopefully we can start seeing an upswing again with the NFC East and have it be the strong division it was, especially since it used to be a very defensive type division.
Good assessment. Nick, I'm going to throw back to you because obviously your forte is looking at players. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
No, that's not my style because I don't like to be put on the spot.
It's NFL Draft Eve. You're putting him on the spot. Go for it.
What shirt do you have on again, Sonny?
Me? What shirt?
Yeah. There, a shameless plug that I missed a couple of minutes ago.
What other shirt would I have on?
I don't know. I just
the best shirt around, the best shirt in any sport, bar none in the world, the Raiders. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for that commercial. Nick, what's a great story we're going to hear about tomorrow during the NFL Draft?
I mean, I think one, which you might see right away is the story about Khalil Mack. I mean, here's a guy, he had 2 scholarship offers. He had Liberty University and Buffalo. And now all of a sudden, he could potentially be the #1 overall pick. So I think that shows sometimes, you know, I pay attention also to the high school football ratings and stuff. And it's sometimes, you know, Jadeveon Clowney was #1 when he came out of high school. But somebody like Mack, it just shows you, here's a guy who went to Buffalo, not a football power, and I just think that's a great story. You know, he was debating on coming out last year, and he got a 3rd or 4th round grade. So obviously, by sticking around, he's going to make himself a lot of money. And you know, he picked up his college degree. And I just think that's kind of a cool story. I mean, that's a story I think that we'll hear right out of the get-go. But I just thought it just shows you kind of how the NFL draft kind of. It takes players, you know, we hear about the SEC, we hear about all these, but when we start evaluating players, it's almost like it doesn't sometimes matter where you came from, what your background is, and I think that's kind of cool. So I just think the background story of Khalil Mack is a really interesting one.
Well, Mac played in the same conference with Eric Fisher last year, correct?
Correct. So
All right, so we could see back-to-back picks from that conference, which, getting one and now 2 years in a row would be astounding. We could also see, for the second year in a row, no quarterback taken first overall, and it's been a while since we've seen that happen 2 years in a row. You have to go back to 1996 with Keyshawn Johnson and 1997 with Orlando Pace, the tackle. The last time it happened, that was a 4-year run. Remember Dan Wilkinson, Kajana Carter, then Keyshawn and Orlando Pace. But, since 1998 with Peyton Manning, it's been very quarterback heavy with that number one pick. So that, to me, I find very, very intriguing. And I think Nick brings up a great point. Once you get to this level, you can just throw out what school you get. If you can play, you can play. And some of the great stories and great sleepers come from schools. By the way, Liberty, that was Eric Green's school, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. The big tight end for the Steelers.
Yeah, it was also a first-round draft choice.
Mm-hmm.
And but here's my tid in terms of Buffalo. In the history of the Common Draft, which goes back to 1967, there's never been a University of Buffalo player taken in the first round. But the Buffalo Bills have picked 51 players in the first round since 1967.
What's that say about the Bills there, Russ?
I was trying to segue to wings, and that always takes me to Pamela.
It does.
Pamela
The tally
and I
keeps
have,
building.
to fill people in, Pamela and I have this, I don't know if it's a running joke or a running fee, but compensated for my
It's a running
appearance.
bit.
Yeah, my compensated for my appearances on Sports Infusion is she plans on infusing me with chicken wings. And right now we're probably up to the states of Vermont and Rhode Island
Yes.
in terms of how many wings she actually owes me.
Just infinite. It's not even a tally anymore, just because it's a number so high that I don't even know if they have digits for it.
Well, here comes a shameless segue. Speaking of Buffalo, and we'll also speak of Detroit, there were whispers out there last year that these were two teams that might be interested in moving up. I think Buffalo's at 9 and Detroit's at 10, and both seem to have the same guy in mind, and that's Sammy Watkins. What do you think about that pick, Nick?
I think, for like the fantasy football player and the person who likes to see 50 points on the board, I think that's really intriguing. But I personally, seeing the Lions move up for Watkins when the secondary really needs help, I don't really understand it. Yes, that's great, but we've seen a lot. I mean, look at your last two Super Bowl champions, great defenses, and for all this funding, with the high points and everything like that, and in the regular season, it comes down to, if you want to win a championship, you still need a good defense, and I think this draft is so deep in wide receiver for the Lions to move up, lose picks, so they can draft Sammy Watkins. When there's going to be about 25 receivers going the first 3 rounds, I'm not on board, I guess, to say.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I think they have the makings. I think they have the semblance of a good defense, and 1 or 2 players could make it an exceptional defense. And exceptional defense will take you a long way. With all this talk of them moving up, if I were the Lions and moving up, it'd be Mac I'd be going after. Certainly not Sammy Watkins. I think Golden Tate fills a need there opposite Calvin Johnson. But why not make the Detroit defense better than good? How about making it maybe great, with the potential to be great? I mean, they've got other good players on there, besides Sue and Fairley and Ziggy Ansah last year. I think Devin Taylor's an intriguing prospect at defensive end. DeAndre Levy had a great year at linebacker last year. There's changes in the secondary. With Louis Delmas, he's gone now. He's with the Miami Dolphins. So I think if Detroit is going to move up, and that's, listen, the NFL is 32 fog machines right now, okay? There's lots of smoke being thrown out there. We know
Lots
that.
of boots being pulled up today, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, it's the ultimate game of poker, and now we're getting down to less than 24 hours before we pull this all off and so on. So it's going to be fascinating. Like I said, for when you're hearing the teams in the top 10 wanting to move up, and yet, like Nick pointed out, with a receiving group that is so deep, it almost like it's a bad smokescreen. Are you really that interested in moving up, or are you trying to bait teams? And I think maybe that's some of the fact that if you hear out there the Jets and the Niners are interested in moving up to get wide receivers. Okay, I'm not going to be surprised that San Francisco does make a move up. I don't know how you guys feel about this. It'll be for Denard, the cornerback. He would be the prototypical San Francisco 49er cornerback if they can snare him.
No, that's why I feel like the Lions should get Denard or go Clinton Dix, because Denard, especially the way the spread operates, you need to have people who can tackle in space, and Denard fills that need. And plus, the Lions, they get to face Aaron Rodgers and Jay Cutler 4 times. So, and amongst all their, so I just feel like they need to tighten up the defense, not worry about, they can come back and get another receiver, and I think they'll be fine. But I'm not understanding it right now.
No, well, listen, it won't be the first time someone doesn't understand the Detroit Lions. Okay, they're saved one playoff appearance in 14 years. It's obviously it's been a struggle for them with a lot of different regimes and so on. But maybe they turn the corner here. By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't throw this out. So we have a draft with a Clowney and a Ha-Ha. Okay? And to me, wouldn't it be fun? And I'm going to get myself in trouble here. Hopefully, I'm not dating myself. Nick, wouldn't it be perfect if the Marx brothers were in this draft?
No,
what I'd like to know is if they're going to come in the same car and how many people they're going to fit in it.
Oh, that would be good. Ha-ha and Clinton Dixon.
Oh, Lord, on that note, before we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, end of our first and 30 show tonight, want to give a quick social shout-out. If you're on Google+, I've been sharing some of the information that's been going on. There's a partnership, a collaboration going on between the NFL Players Association and Google. Google is hosting 20 NFL draft picks over the next 3 days. It will be starting tomorrow afternoon, actually, right before the draft. But 20 of the draft picks will be hosting their own Google Hangouts. And basically what it's going to be is digital. They're hosting their own digital press conferences. Most of them will be hosting them right after they are picked. So you're going to get to see their reaction, their emotions, their feelings. Members of the media will be invited into these hangouts, and they'll be able to ask them questions right away. You've never had this access before. You'll be able to see it on Google+, as well as go to YouTube and the NFL Players Association page. Check the hashtag MyDraftDay, and you'll be able to watch those 20 players over the next 3 days and just be able to ask your own questions of them too. So it's a new thing. Social media is changing how we interact with athletes, and this is one of those ways. And we are going to end it with one final question, one final statement. The first pick in the NFL draft will be... Nick, who you got?
I'm going to say this is going to be like a Mario Williams situation. I've been saying Clowney, but I'm going to say Khalil Mack.
Will the Texans keep him? Or will they trade that pick?
I'm going to say they're going to keep it, because I don't think they're going to get the King's ransom.
Pam?
I'm just going to go with the way I've been going, and I'm just going to say the Texans keep the first pick, and I still think that even though Mack has had his stock risen, I still think they're going to take Clowney.
Russ?
I think it probably should be Khalil Mack. I get the feeling it's going to be now, what's the pronunciation now? It's Jadeveon Clowney?
Jadeveon.
Jadeveon Clowney?
Jadeveon Clowney.
Okay. Well, as I said earlier today, I'm going to start calling him Theismann Dorsett. Okay? For people who don't know that Joe Theismann's last name was actually Theismann, and Tony Dorsett was Tony Dorsett. So if Mr. Clowney can fix his name, I'm just going to bring up a couple of paths to make it easy for myself. Because every time I say Jadeveon, I think I'm ordering a bottle of water.
I'm just going to say Jay Clowney. Make it really simple, really easy. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Our thanks to Pam and Nick. Pam, why don't you let everybody know where they can connect up with you?
You can connect up with me on Twitter at SportyDiva, and of course listen to my show, Sports Infusion, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I have a fabulous football guru that also comes on as well.
And he was supposed to join us tonight, but work called, so unfortunately we will have him on at a future time, and Pam as well. Definitely, and Pam, make sure you go to the events page and put your links there so people can find you and listen to your show. Nick, how can people connect with you?
They can visit me at thesportsavant.com, and they can also catch me on Twitter at Paulenich, which I would just use the third to spell it, and those are the places you can find me.
Russ, my friend, my guru, who will be in New York tomorrow night.
Yes, I will, and I will deny any charges if anything happens. Just so you know now.
What happens in New York stays in New York?
Yes, you know what? That's the classic bailout. No pun intended. Bax Football Guru on Twitter. By the way, we are now less than 100 followers away from hitting 30,000. Okay, and I told people whoever follower number 30,000 in gets a free ProFootballGuru.com T-shirt. Okay, so the chase is on. We have less than 24 hours. Excuse me?
Can I unfollow and follow?
I asked the same question, Sonny, and Russ says that he knows all his followers.
I think if you unfollowed me and followed me 93 times, I think you could probably it would be at restraining order. Okay? You would have to change your name too. Okay?
Oh, I see how it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have to hide your rabbit.
Well, this digress.
Okay.
I forgot what sites I'm plugging. And Pro Football Guru on Facebook, ProFootballGuru.com. By the way, very proud to collaborate with the gang at NFL Female, including Pamela, in which we did a piece called Wish List. And, we polled all the writers and more than 32 beat writers for NFL Female. Check out their website, NFLFemale.com. You can follow them at NFL Female. And I asked them all the same question. If you had the #1 pick in the draft, your team, who would you take? And we got a variety of answers. It's a great piece. They do a great job over there. And the beauty of the piece is you can read everybody's answers. You get a chance to meet the ladies who work for NFL Female. They all have their Twitter accounts attached. Follow them all. I hope you enjoy the piece. They even had a guest host, pseudo-female pick for the New York Jets. I won't give anything away, but it's Russell, not Rosalind.
All right. Each of them will be putting their information in the Google Plus events page so that you can see the latest work that they've been doing. Thanks everyone for joining in. I am Cad Chica. You can find me on Twitter at Cad Chica. Circle me here on Google Plus, Sonny Cadwallader. And also I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, you name the platform, Snapchat, I'm there too. Join us in 2 weeks or maybe next week when Russ and I will come up with a possible 1st and 60 quick hit, but definitely our next show will be in 2 weeks on our regular day and time, 5 o'clock on Thursday. Thanks everyone, and happy NFL Drafty.